it's been an interesting time for many of us, and we recognize wherever we're at in the world right now, it's been a little bit of an edgy experience for a lot of us. And I just want you to know right from the start how much you're in our hearts. You know, when there's different issues that go on, sometimes we kind of, you know, what do you call it, circle the wagons and draw into our families. And we're certainly doing that. But I just want each of you to know that you're part of our PC family, and we're very much aware of you and thinking of you. So just by way of introduction, my name is Janice Schwartz. I'm the Executive Director of PC Project. In fact, I'll move this. And with me is Dr. David Hansen. He's not only a dermatologist, he's a member of PC Project's Medical and Scientific Advisory Board. He's also the principal investigator on our registry. He's part of our steering committee, and he's also met literally hundreds and hundreds of PC patients personally over the world, over his career and throughout the world, I guess I should say. I also have with me Holly Evans. She is the brains behind everything we're doing today. We're working remotely. I just have to do a little clarifier. The home of PC Project, or at least the hub, is in Salt Lake City. We experienced a 5.7 earthquake yesterday, and we're rocked by aftershocks of over, I think, 90 aftershocks, so it was a really fun time. But we still felt like we wanted to have this town hall meeting anyway and do something to show that we are still trying to be normal, and also show you that we still very much are aware of the PC community and our mission and our goals. So with that little bit said, this is our first town hall meeting ever. It's something we've never done before. In reaching out to our community, we recognize that some of the information that you'll hear today will be new to some of you, and some of you will be very familiar with it, especially if you've been to a patient support meeting. But we hope that you will learn a little bit more. So with that said, the agenda will cover the clinical findings of PC, the impact of living with PC, and PC Project's mission and how we're accomplishing that. And that will include an update on the current clinical trial and other research efforts. So we hope it's a good time. Just one last thing is we did ask for questions in advance, and I just want you all to know who submitted questions. We've tried to integrate your questions into our presentation today, and if we don't get to them, we'll try to answer you either through the news brief or an email, something, or a future town meeting. So with that, let's just get started. So everybody knows the word of this disease is Pathogenesis. This is how you say it, but there is a reason we say PC. It's a mouthful. And Pathogenesis congenita, or PC, is ultra rare. It's a genetic skin disease. It's an autosomal dominant disease, and it's caused by a mutation in one of 5 keratin genes. And I think a lot of people on this call will recognize that they have one of these genes. And if you don't know, a mutation in one of those genes, and if you don't know, we'll tell you how to find out. So the major clinical findings of PC are, first, thick nails. And this is probably the worst one to start with, but I wanted to say thick means it's pachy, and nails is onychia, and that's where we got the name pachyonychia. But I think a lot of you who suffer from PC know that the nails is probably the least of your problems, but just wanted to point that that's where we got the name PC. But one of the major clinical findings of PC are blisters and calluses, and I think you know that these are not regular blisters. These are very painful blisters, and so we think PC could also stand for painful calluses. Some of our patients are afflicted with cysts, and particularly our K17s, our K6As do have them pretty severely as well, and we also know that those can be quite debilitating, so PC could also stand for painful cysts. There's another thing called follicular hyperkeratosis. You notice a lot of the kids with PC get these. They actually are painful. They're in the high friction areas. The nice thing about follicular hyperkeratosis is it's a problem for children and teenagers, and a lot of us grow out of this problem. Leukokeratosis, that's another way that we distinguish PC. It's this nice white tongue, and the reason it's white is it's just a buildup of keratin, and it's in the mouth, so it's always wet. And Dave, I hope Dave Hansen, Dr. Hansen, if you have anything to add, let me know if I'm doing anything wrong. So one other thing that's really interesting that is not part of the literature in PC are these, we call them neurovascular structures, but we're not quite sure what they are. But we surveyed our patients who are in the registry, and we found out that 62% of our patients have these. They're extremely painful. And actually this information, thanks to our patients who participated in this registry questionnaire, this is getting published. So this will be a new thing about PC that's not been commonly known. Other features and challenges are sharp ear pain, difficulty sucking as infants, white keratin film on the larynx, sores at the corner of the mouth, teeth at or before birth, and again, deep itching. 68% of our patients have this terrible deep itching. So again, this is just a quick overview of some of the clinical features of PC. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the impact of living with PC. So this is kind of an interesting thing. A lot of people with PC have to choose, make a lot of choices every day. Many choose not to have biological children. And I think the fact that that is a case with PC is really telling about how devastating this disease can be. Full disclosure, this is my family. This is me in the middle, obviously, and then my two kids with the lighter blue shirts are Sam and Nate, and they have PC. In my case, I chose to, but there is absolutely no judgment on people who choose to not to. We did get one question about how people can avoid that. And what I would like to just say for sake of time is to please go to our website. And if you go under what is PC, you can go under the genetics of PC. And we have some good information about, they call it PGD, about how you can make sure that you don't have a baby with PC. It's a very expensive procedure, but I know that some of our patients have tried that. So with that said, just check out our website. It's absolutely fabulous with a lot of content. And I just wanted to make a comment here too, about nearly 50% of the PC cases are spontaneous. So sometimes we say, oh, let's just not have any kids and we'll eradicate PC. Well, that can't happen because the kids keep growing. We keep being born. We keep having mutants, spontaneous mutants, I guess is what they are. And that's what I am. So I can say that. I always say I'm a mutant. I just don't have superpowers. Anyway, one thing that we talk about is we choose how many steps we have to take every day. The pain is physically and mentally exhausting. This is a picture of a cute little boy with PC. When he came home from school, he's actually got a pretty severe case. He uses a wheelchair sometimes, and it's exhausting. And you pay a price for the steps. And I hope this is relatable to some of you. We have to choose which tasks are worth the pain. I always laugh at this picture. This picture has kind of become my, what do you call it? My representation of things that I can and can't do. This is a picture that I ordered online, of course. And it took me forever to get it framed because if you get something, have to go get something framed, you have to go into a store and then you have to stand in line and then you have to pick out frames and then you have to run your credit card through, and it just takes a long time. And so I just look at this picture as an example of something that I just never seem to have time to do to get it framed because of, it just wasn't worth the cost of the bad feet. And just for those of you who don't have a PC, standing or sitting, the pain can be burning, sharp jabbing, throbbing, stinging, aching. It can be a lot of things. The choices have consequences. And I put this picture of, in the corner, I guess my mouse isn't working on this. We're a little technology challenged because of our funny situation today. We're blaming it all on the earthquake. Anyway, this is a picture of my son who just, his feet look like a regular PCer's foot, but he went camping and he ran around, and that was what his foot looked like at the end of the day. And so we can't always just say, oh, we're just going to tough it out. The damage is real. And that's why even, sometimes pain medication isn't a very effective thing for PCers because it might mask the pain for a minute, but the blistering and the damage will still happen whether we feel the pain or not. And I had to put these cute pictures of these kids up here. Sometimes opportunities have to be missed, but this cute little boy, sometimes the pain stops me from going to school and playing with my friends. This gal says, I wish I could hang out more with my friends. So it's a tricky thing. but we learn to adapt as patients, and we learn to do options that aren't necessarily standing or walking. I apologize, I'm using me as some of these pictures because I don't want to throw too many of our patients under the bus, though I will in a minute, probably a few. But anyway, I say that with a smile on my face. But this is me as a child. I literally got my hair fixed by my mom as a child, and even as a teenager, I sat up and perched up on that countertop because it was too hard to stand. The pain was too much. Many PC patients crawl, and a lot of us use walking aids that aren't obvious. I have my 2 children who are in college who have PC, and they use bikes. They have handicap placards, but they use bikes to get around, and so they would be devastated without bikes. And in fact, I have this simple task become a challenge with PC. And I just have to tell you a funny story that sometimes with PC, we get a little vulnerable. And so I was planning on doing this web meeting from home because we're all socially distancing. And the technology wasn't working that great. And I don't live too far from PC Project, but it's a 10-minute drive. And because we've had all these aftershocks and earthquakes, I said to my husband, I said, Dave, what if something terrible happens while I'm not at home? And, you know, and it's a nerve-wracking thing to think I might have to walk all that way home. And, you know, like, what if a terrible earthquake happened? I mean, it's okay. He's from LA, so the earthquake didn't even faze him. But he was so sweet. He said, then I would bring you a bike and we would get you home. And I thought that was really sweet, but it's a good example of how vulnerable sometimes we feel with PC that, oh, we're going to be able to get to point A to point B. So, but we make choices every day. We manage ways to work. We find ways to work that won't hurt. This is just an example of me when I was in college. I worked at a summer camp. It's a beautiful camp. I worked in an arts and crafts center, and in the middle, I sat on the table instead of walking around all the different tables. I just pushed the tables together, and we just find creative ways to adapt. And I really wish this were an interactive call, because I think there's many of you on this call that would be able to tell what you have done to adapt. And I think one thing that we do definitely try to do with PC Project is talk to the younger generation. Depending on the mutation and the severity of each person's disease, we find over and over again people who choose careers, and then as they get older and their PC gets worse, it becomes more debilitating for them. And so you don't want to ever stifle someone's dream, but being in the NBA probably might not be a realistic one, or a mail carrier or whatever. So we try to kind of, you know, educate our patients that way. This is a short thing. I just wanted to say that as PCers, we have to choose how to manage the care. There is no current effective treatment for PC. And so we have to just manage the best we can. And there's a million different ways. And we share that a lot through our website and also on our social media things. We have patient support meetings. So we could, if we decide we like doing this, we might have future meetings. We could have a complete web meeting about care. And I didn't even touch about how to take care of infections or things like that, but just making a comment that the impact of PCer's life is caring for those funny feet and nails. One other thing that I just wanted to acknowledge is the burden of an ultra-rare disease. And my animation isn't working on any of this, and it's not a problem at all, but just here's the list, and it's great. Of course, there's pain. No one understands. There's isolation. There's embarrassment, shame. Many of our patients, I hate to say, are bullied. There's depression, and of course, a desire to be normal. And I had to put this picture of this cute little gal. I just love her. And she's a little bit older now, but she was the girl on her dad's back is one of our patients, and she was playing in the snow and having a great time. And then because she has P, she just ran out of steps. She could not walk any further. And that is a really hard thing for people to understand. We run into that trouble with kids in school classes all the time. And we'll write letters and try to help school nurses and administrators and teachers understand that a child with PC may be able to be fine 1 minute and have to run and play and not the next, or they might run and play as a choice. But it's an interesting thing. And so we hope that through our efforts with PC Project that we kind of laugh about it, about coming out of the closet and not being quite so ashamed of really what we had it wasn't anybody's fault. It just, or a mutation, it's okay. Anyway, I just wanted to show, and I don't know if some of these people are on this call, but this is an example of one of our PCers who has adapted really well. In the corner, my thing is not working, but my mouse, but we have a patient who, in the purple, who is a very successful career woman, but you notice she's in a wheelchair, or she has a cane, or sometimes she walks, or sometimes she rides a bike. She can do many, many things. And here's a boy. His mom won the meme making contest for PC Project, and so I can't even talk. Her prize was this T-shirt with one of our PC logos, and he loved it. He would turn it around so that the shirt was facing front, and then wear a jacket and take it to school and open his jacket and say, "This is my superpower." And I thought that was really cute. And if you see his picture here, he did an art project that says, "Getting around every step feels like walking on hot coals, but that doesn't stop me. I have Pathogenesis congenita. What's your superpower?" I just think that's really sweet that our generation growing up here now with PC is not quite so embarrassed. They're not quite so ashamed. And I think that has to do with a more accepting world and also an understanding of what causes PC. Anyway, I just wanted to point out, here's a dad in the bottom left corner. I love this because he's playing with his kids at a bounce house. I think for many PCers, myself included, trampolines are absolute torture on your feet, and he's on his knees playing. I wanted to, and to the right, here's another one playing wheelchair tennis. I had to just point out this picture in the bottom middle. This is a picture that came through with someone that joined our registry, and she sent a bunch of pictures of her symptoms, as many of you who have PC do. And we were going through, and all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, there's a tattoo on her leg, and it's ours. And it was kind of cute. Don't worry, I'm not advocating that everybody go home and tattoo yourself with our logo, but it was kind of cute that, you know, everybody, and I could just say so many examples that our patients really do try to adapt and make the best with what they can. Okay, have I said enough there? Again, it would be so fun to just share stories about how we all adapt in different ways. About PC Project now, we get asked a lot, how did it get started and what in the world do we do? So with that, I just wanted to point out, and my animation isn't working, that it really kind of started with Dave and I getting married. So you figured out I have PC myself. I married Dave, and I won the lottery in the husband department when I married him. He was great. Didn't even really know what I had for quite a long time, and so I knew he liked me for me. Anyway, with every marriage comes a mother-in-law, and this is Mary Schwartz, and we have a great relationship. But I will tell you, once Steve and I started our family, we had our first 2 children, and we didn't really know a lot about PC then. But our first 2 children, Nate and Sam, had PC, and they had all the typical findings of PC: infected nails, the nails that got infected, the tongue, the follicular hyperkeratosis. But it wasn't until they started walking and getting a little more weight bearing that the real pain and trial for them of PC occurred. And if you notice, this is a picture of their feet side by side, but this is what happens on the bottom when our particular mutation walks too much. And Mary, being the grandma she is, said, we got to do something. And with that, PC Project was born. I really shortened that history for the sake of time, but that's how it all got started. It was the power of a grandmother's love that said, we got to do something. And you'll notice that every one of our logos, I shouldn't say everyone, all 2 of our logos have a heart. And we never want to forget that our basis is about love, that we are all about love here. And so the first thing I want to tell you, one of the very first things we did was start up a website. It's changed since we started in 2003, I believe. And I would just encourage everyone on this call to visit our website. It is loaded with information. And so I encourage you to check that out and explore it when you can. There's just so much information about it. I wanted to just tell you, first of all, this is where PC Project is right now. I call them our miracle workers. We have a fabulous board. They all volunteer their time. I guess with nonprofits, they don't get paid anyway, but this is a fabulous group of people. And I just wanted to pay special tribute to Holly and Joanne. These are our only 2 paid employees. And I'm not kidding when I say we do a lot of volunteer work. Holly Evans is our patient support officer, and you know if you've worked with her, she does so many things, is so talented. We'd be in a lot of trouble without Holly. So grateful for her, and she's probably going to slap me because she's sitting next to me. Anyway, just kidding, Holly. Okay, so on to our mission. I hate that my animation isn't working, but that's okay. We want to fight for a cure. You've seen this on all our literature. We're all about connecting and helping patients, empowering research, and of course, a beautiful place for us to be right now is we're now collaborating with industry partners. As you can see, because we only have Holly and Joanne, who's part-time, we have a lot to do, and so everything we do is for the purpose of achieving our mission. If something doesn't fall under this category, we don't do it. So with that, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about how we connect and help patients. We have 17 patient support meetings have had so far. The next one, maybe not, is in France. And again, we're just going to be really adaptable to the global virus situation. We haven't, but we'll continue to have that. And I've promised our French patients who are very much counting on this, even though it's for everybody, not just our French patients, but we have a really strong group in France. And even if we have to cancel this, it's more of a postponement. And then we'll come back to the United States for the next one. And then we'll go back to Europe and then the United States. I wish we could do patient support meetings in every country in the world. And if anybody wants to donate millions of dollars for us, we can do that, but we can't. And you can't see my smile, but that's okay. Anyway, we have an advocate outreach program. We have patient advocates. Some of you are on this call who are trained. You speak different languages. We're all over the world, and it's to help our patients in different countries. We do disability assistance and patient support. You probably know Holly and I spend a lot of time on the phone and through emails, and we don't mind one bit. We send out a monthly PC news brief, and that goes to our patient community. And we have people tell us. I had a mom recently say, I read this every month with my daughter who has PC so that she knows she's not alone. So they're just kind of fun, but to hopefully keep you guys involved and know what's going on. We have social media, including a private PC Facebook group. And if you want to be in that, you have to be part of our registry, and because we protect our patients that way. And that leads us to the last part, is our International PC Research Registry. And that is a huge part of what we do with PC Project. A patient joins the registry via the website, then that information is reviewed, discussed with the physicians, and we have a monthly genetics team meeting. So we have a patient verified or a physician rather verified registry. And then with a clinical diagnosis, a patient is referred for free genetic testing. Saliva kit and sample is sent by mail. The blood draw days are over, so that's another beautiful thing. And then the testing report comes to the patient. And we'll talk a little bit more about how important that is. Holly was kind of joking with me earlier. She said, for everybody that's on social isolation right now, can you just please sit back and join the registry? Because if you haven't done it, or if you have children who aren't in it, so please do that. One thing we've learned that's very important from the registry, and I hope you're probably seeing this even on this meeting, is we're all similar, but we're all different. You notice K6A in the first one, K6A in the next one, both K6As, but look how different they are. And then look at a K6A. I hate that my mouse doesn't work, and I apologize for that. But just maybe for the sake of time, I'll just say we're all different, and there's no comparing. And it's kind of interesting that my husband looked at this picture and he thought the foot on the top, the second to the right, was the worst one, and it looked like the most painful. But we realized that's not necessarily true. Maybe the one on the bottom left is the most painful, or maybe even the bottom, another one. And you notice that on the bottom left and the one next to it, those are the exact same gene and the exact same mutation. And look how different they are. And so there's just no comparing. There's obviously a lot of commonalities, but we just can't compare as patients. So the power of the registry, I just have to let everybody know how important this is. is first of all, it's empowering for patients to have a diagnosis and to know their exact PC mutation. I will tell you, my own boys, they got their diagnosis when they were in grade school. They'd already been made fun of and teased. And when they realized they were just a typo in a DNA strand, it just was very almost liberating to them. Instead of something super weird, it was, oh, I'm just a typo. It's not that big of a deal. So it's nice to know, to have an answer of why we have these funny feet, or why do we get these cysts that are so painful on our bodies. Anyway, it dispels myths and establishes truth about PC. For example, the fact that I think it was Dr. Hansen that showed us in a medical book, clear just from 1993, that the main symptom was thick nails, and a lot of our patients don't even have thick nails or any kind of nail involvement. Numerous scientific publications have resulted from PC, and you can read every one of those on our website. It's a cool place to explore. There's been numerous small studies. There's been 2 phase 1B clinical trials, all because of the registry. And now, as many of you know, we're right in the middle of the Palvella Phase 2-3 study. And it continually grows. And we want to have that trial. I need to tell anybody that has not joined the registry on this call how important it is that you join. We get asked over and over again, how many people with PC are there out there? And my unfortunate answer is, I don't know. Everybody wants to know if we're worth trying something out for. Is there enough of us to make it worth it? I mean, of course, we all think it's worth it, but people have to know that there's patients out there, and so we really want that. We want to establish that. And of course, instead of just a disease that people think is thick nails, we've established, because of the registry, that pain is the most common feature of PC. It is not because we think we have ugly nails or even ugly feet or ugly cysts. It's the pain that results from all of those experiences. And so this registry, and what we've learned from all of you on this call who have joined and who do have a genetic confirmation, it's been extremely powerful for the researchers to know this. It's literally changed what we know about PC. Last thing I gotta say is back to clinical trials and people wanting to do things, make treatments for us, is because we know who our patients are, we know where our patients are, and we know the exact affected gene and mutation of our patients. And just can't even stress enough how important that is. I just keep getting told over and over again, wow, you got that many people in a clinical trial in just 8 months. I've been told that there are treatments out there for other rare diseases that don't even make it to the patients because they can't get patients to be in the clinical trials. And that is not the case with us. And so shout out to everybody on this call who has joined the registry. So here we go. The registry is the most valuable asset of PC Project. It really is. It's what makes us special. It's what drives research, and it's what unites the patients together. And so that leads us to our next part, is empowering research. And I promise I'm going fast. I'm trying to go fast. So one thing is, when we started PC Project, there was absolutely nothing going on by way of research for PC. And so we gathered, literally, this doctor in the middle, her name's Sancy Leachman, said, let's invite the best in the world who could have anything to do with PC, come to Salt Lake, invited them to ski, and talk about what we could do to get research going for PC. And in that meeting, the International PC Consortium was formed. So the International PC Consortium, this is just one picture here from one of our meetings. We gather together once a year and have an IPCC meeting. The next one is scheduled for May 12th through 13th. Again, we're being very flexible, but we're already exploring the possibility of having that be a web meeting. We've invited some amazing researchers that are doing research on PC and related diseases from all over the world to come and collaborate. We have a medical and scientific advisory board. We have a steering committee. That's people within our MSAB who kind of direct us a little more closely. We have a monthly genetics team meeting, and that's really great. And that's where, you know, some of you, I admit, your cases have been a little trickier to diagnose if you're a patient on this call. And this is where our team of experts, Dave Hansen is one of them, who will review your case and help us out there so we can get you a diagnosis. We also give them quarterly newsletters. We figure they're busy. We don't bother them as much as we do our PC patients. And then we share our registry data. We write support letters for grants. We support publications. We ask and answer questions and follow up on research projects. And I think it's important that all of you know that even though we have this meeting once a year, we're in contact with a lot of these people all year round. It's a regular thing for us. I'm just going to go really quickly because I think a lot of you are going to want to get to Dr. Hansen here or hear what he has to say. This was from our International Consortium meeting last year. We also went to the Society of Investigative Dermatology annual meeting and to share PC with, I mean, thousands of researchers come and we're quite aggressive in talking to them. So we have our collaborated meeting and we also try to reach new people too. We did not go to Europe. We can only go to so many, literally, we get invited every, I don't know, to meetings all the time. We could just go to meetings all the time, but we try to be really careful about our time and our resources. We did not go to this one. It was a very big meeting, but we sent a PC patient. And this is Marie, and she's with one of our doctors and clinicians. She's both a clinician and a scientist, Dr. O'Toole, and so they went and represented PC. We went to, we call it PEDRA. It's a research meeting for children's research, children's dermatology problems. And I don't know if it was good or not, but I had to be on a panel and I also had to give a talk. And that was good because we reached a big group of researchers. The people in this picture are all patient advocacy organization people. And I'd like to shout out to this cute patient here in the bottom with Holly. She came and her dad, and they came and participated in the patient track to kind of give a voice to PCers. Shout out to Barbara. She's in the bottom left picture. She is one of our board members and a patient advocate as well. And she went to the Rare Disease Day at the NIH, and she also went to another one last September. So she did great and went, and she and her husband Aaron told their congressmen and their senators and ours from Utah all about PC Project and PC, and thanked them for advocating for good research and legislative action for us. Barbara, if you're on here, I hope I didn't slaughter that. One other thing that that's a blurry slide, but wanted to just mention that just recently happened as a part of our collaboration with researchers is the people in our IPCC, our consortium, got together and they all submitted PC-related research articles to the same edition and of the BJD. And that gives a lot of power to PC research because instead of just one, little single article, it was a whole bunch. And that was a part of our collaborative efforts. And shout out again to our researchers who participated. And I haven't even read all the articles, but I can hardly wait. When I'm socially isolated, I'm going to read them all. And then the last thing that I wanted to just mention is we are willing to collaborate now with any industry partner that is willing to work with PC and PC Project. And that's what industry is, drug developers, anybody that can take us from basic research to the next level. And Dave's going to talk about this in a minute, but we're willing to connect to the key IPCC members. We'll combine our sources. We share our knowledge and data from the registry. They in turn share their experts and their knowledge, and we'll survey their patients, conduct focus groups. We will announce and advertise the trial, recruit, answer questions, provide genetic testing and reports. And of course, as you all know, because we're doing the Palvella trial, we'll educate the PC community regarding the trial's progress. And of course, the industry runs and funds the whole trial. So I just want you guys to know as you do your cute bake sales and all that somebody with a little more money than us is handling this. But it's only because of you that we can even do this. And I just do want to acknowledge the reason we have this good list here as a good model is because of our current situation with Palvella, and because they kind of set a good standard for us to how to work with any kind of group. Lastly on this, not lastly, almost, we just wanted to get it out there that physicians, scientists, and drug developers always welcome at our PC patient support meetings. This is our Boston meeting. I see a lot of friendly faces here on this call that were at that meeting. And I don't know if you guys knew that, but we had people who were in that meeting that were learning about PC. They're always welcome. They're always invited. And this was just kind of an interesting, these were just another example of how, again, this is Palvella. And sorry, Palvella, if you're on this call, you get to see that this was an experience we had this first picture clear the early part of 2019, where Palvella invited all the people that were going to participate and help them run the clinical trial, doctors, vendors, anything come to Salt Lake, and we helped them understand what PC is like, because they were going to have to do this trial. And so it was a great collaboration. And the picture below, it's not a full picture, but this is a picture of some of the board members of Palvella. And again, trying and wanting to understand things from the PC and the PC project perspective. And we love that kind of collaboration with industry, and we're grateful for these opportunities. Now, I have talked so much, I am going to turn the meeting over for a second, well, a long second, to David Hansen, and I think he's going to talk about what you guys want to know about. So are you there, Dave?
I'm right here. Now, be sure you can hear me nicely, and that's coming through so everyone can hear.
Yeah.
Holly, we're set?
We're set.
Terrific. There's really never been a more exciting time to look at possible therapeutic ideas for PC than we have right now. Sort of in addition to what Jan has talked about, when the registry was originally set up in about 2004 or 2005, we had a handful of people in the world that we had genetically confirmed with their diagnosis of pachyonychia. And at that time, there was a lot of misinformation about the disease because no one could gather enough individuals with it to really get a feeling of what the disease really was, what phenotypic types or what changes in the skin occurred, and particularly what things were not part of it. It's interesting, if someone has PC and they also have little ears, then people say, oh, well, people with PC have little ears. And what's interesting is that we were able to eliminate a lot of associations that were not accurate. And so the registry was very helpful in defining this condition. And part of that registry was to be able to define this specific mutation, because some of the ideas, the therapeutic ideas, depended on our ability to recognize what the specific change in the DNA was that allowed us to try and change that. So that the registry has been the single most important piece of being able to find a cure. And that was the thing that was talked about early on, was we're getting together with ideas to try and find a way to not necessarily cure PC, but to make PC so that people could alleviate the pain and be able to do things in a normal way that they couldn't when they have this condition. So that that registry was important. So when you work with an ultra rare disease, you have to be able to collect sufficient numbers of individuals to test a process or to test a medication to see if it works. And if you only have a handful, you can do a small pilot, but even if it shows improvement, you have to be able to get a larger group in order to actually show that that works, in order for the FDA, the organization that approves medication, for them to look at it and say, yes, it does in fact seem to be working in this group. And so again, the registry was absolutely critical in being able to conduct significant research to make it happen. So from our standpoint, from a research standpoint, so grateful to all of you who have been part of the registry, because it allows us to come closer to finding an effective treatment for PC. And let's go to the next slide. So that as you are well aware, DNA is the part of each cell in our body that directs the structure and function of those cells in the body. And so that DNA is the mastermind. It's the one that runs the machine. And so a change in the DNA, a change in those nucleic acid bases in the DNA, a change there produces then a change in the production of structural proteins and enzyme systems in the body. And so we call those mutations, and they're merely changes in those DNA bases that dictate what structure or what enzyme is created. And so in PC, the DNA alters proteins that create the structure of our skin cells called keratinocytes. And so if you think of building a building, you have girders, you have I-beams, you have structural metal that give strength to that building. If you were to take those away, the building wouldn't stand. Well, in PC, that change in the DNA dictates a protein that doesn't combine well with other proteins to make what are called keratin filaments. And those filaments are like the I-beams or the structures to give strength to the skin cells. And I think the next slide has a picture of those. So on the left, at least in my computer, those on the left are nice filaments. Those green staining filaments are the keratin filaments that give strength to those skin cells. If you take and put a filament in there that doesn't have the ability to combine well with another one, then it makes a weak structure. And in the right side, you can see then a mutant keratin, a keratin that doesn't have the structure. If you can imagine your cells, the skin cells on your feet, having the kind of changes on the right side, they're very easy for those cells to break down, to blister, to ulcerate or change. And then what's interesting is that the body's response to that is to produce callus. So it tries to produce more skin because it thinks that the injury creates a situation where it tries to produce a protective layer, and it produces those calluses, but it doesn't alter those abnormal keratins that allow the thing to continue to blister and be painful. And so that the goal in research has been to block the production of that mutant protein, or the protein that's not normal, and increase the production of the normal one. And if you can do that, you can make skin cells look like those on the left rather than the skin cells of those on the right. Why don't you go to the next one? So that there's been a number of attempts to produce a compound that would change the synthesis or the production of that abnormal protein that allows the skin cells in PC to be weak and easily damaged. And one of the things that they have looked at for some time is a medicine called rapamycin. And rapamycin is a medicine that's been approved for use in transplant patients and other situations for about 15 years. And what we found early on was if you took and put this in a test tube with the enzymes that create this protein, we could block, using that, we could block some of the mutant keratin that produce the changes in PC. The problem was that when you feed, or when you give rapamycin orally to patients, it seemed to be helpful in a small number of patients, but the side effects made it very difficult to use. And so we have talked about the possibility of using topical rapamycin and applying it to the bottom of the feet to see if it would change that production of the abnormal keratin. And go to the next one. So that we were using this IPCRR, which is the research registry for PC project. Palvella, which is a company that's looking for a treatment for rare diseases, they were able to create a unique formulation of this rapamycin, and they did some extensive research in terms of vehicles, and the vehicle is in the compound where you put the rapamycin and mix it with that, we call it a gel, but you mix it with that gel and it allows it to penetrate more effectively into the epidermis. And so we needed to be able to create that, but also to deliver it to the skin. And so they came to PC Project and said, we have some ideas about being able to treat individuals with PC, and we want to see if this medication will actually make a difference in terms of the pain and the difficulty that occurs in pachyonychia. And so that using the registry as a way to encourage participation, they've had, and I say 60, they wanted to have 60 individuals to actually have a sufficient group that's large enough to show a difference in terms of placebo or versus active medicine. And so we elected to use individuals with PCK6A and PCK16 and PCK6B. We put those 3 mutations into the study and then had them use a 3.9% rapamycin gel applied to the feet. And this was a study that occurred over a 7-month period. And then we looked for improvement. And one of the things we had to do was to try to find a way to measure improvement in individuals while they're using this medication. And with the FDA's help, we elected to use something called activity difficulty scale. And so that if you have PC, you have difficulty doing normal kinds of things that require where you're standing or walking on your feet. And so we tried to measure how difficult that was for individuals, and then had them apply the medication and see if they were able to do things with less difficulty than they did before. And so this study is ongoing, and you can go to the next slide.
And Dave, can I just say one thing?
Sure, absolutely.
I always have lots to say. When it talks about over 60 individuals, I just want to make a comment that we had over 120 try to be in this trial. Not everybody can be. They had to get screened out. I wanted to acknowledge the fantastic response of our patient community. So
that's a good point. We had to get enough individuals to have 60 qualify for the study.
Right, yeah.
Actually took place. So that to let you know that the study is ongoing, and so that we have had some who've completed that full course, and some are still involved with the medication. And I just emphasize that the results are still pending. So we don't have anything to report in terms of how effective it was or how difficult it was and so forth. But what I can tell you is that in our group of individuals, where we had a center here in Salt Lake City that we studied, some of those patients experienced a significant reduction in pain and have been able to be much more active. Now, the difficulty is that you have to be able to show that when you take that medicine away, that some of the improvement they get will decrease or will disappear. And that's called the placebo study. And so that you get people better, and then you take it away, and you have to take it away in a way that the patient and the physician don't know who's getting what, and be able to show that actually the medicine was actually working. And so that's part of the reason for doing studies, and that's also part of the reason that we do a very well-designed study that allows us to really determine if this method is working or not. And so the improvement in some patients was not as effective as some other ones, and so there was a difference. Some got better than others, and we don't have the data to analyze why some improved and others didn't. The positive of this is that we didn't have any significant adverse reactions to the medication, so that it seemed to be very safe, and so that we felt if we can show improvement, that we can recommend it to patients as a way of managing their pain without worrying about them creating new problems that sometimes medications do. So after the final data is analyzed, and that will happen in the next 6 months sometimes, if it shows that it was effective, then we think that it'll be fast-tracked by the FDA, because the FDA understands that we have a condition that has no effective therapy. And so they're sympathetic to that situation, and they will then allow a quicker approval of medication for use in that condition. And so they'll do what they call a fast-track approval if we can show that, in fact, this medication works to alleviate the discomfort associated with pachyonychia. The next slide, I think, talks about where we're going from here. Because we're encouraged with the early results, we're opening another group of individuals that have K17 and K6C, and it should be C, not B, but K6C patients, because they weren't included in the original registry. We did the other mutations, but not those two. So we want to now know if they worked with those mutations as well. We also were doing what they call an extension study, which we're extending the use of the medication with what we call an open label. So they'll continue to apply the medication over a longer period of time, hoping to see increased improvement over time, because we don't know how quickly this starts to work and how slowly it doesn't work. And so over the next 6 to 9 months, those individuals who responded to the medication will continue to use it to see if it continues to show impressive progressive improvement, and that's certainly our hope. And also we're watching for any new adverse effects that would make it so we would have concerns about its use. One other caveat is that studies have to be done with approval of the FDA, and so there's adult studies and there's pediatric studies, and they're quite different. And so it was chosen to do an adult study and not use this in children. If, in fact, this medication proves to be effective, we think we'll be able to extend the use to children with a study that shows that it's safe to be used in children. And that's the difference, is you have to be sure that you're not doing something in children that would expose them to risks that would be inappropriate. And so we have this is only done in adults and not in children. For the next one. So Holly, bring the next slide. There we go. There's a number of other exciting things that are taking place in terms of studies. And one of the fun things is that this meeting that Jan talked about in Phoenix in May, if it in fact it happens with the virus problem, is that there's a lot of researchers around the world that have creative ideas about how we can modify the effects of PC. And so that there's some things that are taking place that are quite exciting in addition to the Palvella, the rapamycin study. These are what we call off-label medicines, which are things that are out there but have not been approved for use in PC. And so there is a medication that was designed to be used in advanced cancer patients. These are patients with pancreatic cancer. It was found that when they gave that medication to individuals with a keratinizing disorder, this is a disorder like PC, but it's not PC, they were able to reverse the callus formation and improve the degree of pain in a small number of individuals in Europe. And so that the problem was that this medication, again, has potential adverse effects because it's given systemically. So it's not applied to the skin, it's taken orally in this case. And so you have to be careful when you try and use medication like this that your side effects are not more serious than the disease you're trying to treat. And so that people have wondered about the possibility of using this medication on the skin, and that's being looked at as when applied to the bottom of the feet. Would it in fact have a similar effect in PC that it has in a different keratinizing disorder? And so there's some enthusiasm for looking at that possibility. But that's still at least a year or two away because we have to be able to get a formulation that works and then actually test that in individuals. But it's another exciting development right now in terms of managing PC. For the next one. And Holly, there's a number of things that have been proposed. Botulinum toxin, which most people call Botox, has been used in a number of disorders to inject into the skin. And of course, the most common thing is to change wrinkles, okay? But it also does things in terms of pain. It also does things in terms of blood flow to the skin. So that a group in Sweden and a group in Spain have used Botox, where they've injected this into the calluses on the feet of individuals with PC, and they're able to block the pain. And so they would take and inject the Botox. And for 2 or 3 months, the individuals noted a marked decrease in pain and also increase in activity. The problem with Botox has been that it's very painful to inject in the bottom of your feet. And so they would have to take and put them under general anesthesia. They would put them to sleep in order to tolerate the pain of the injection. And so the other problem is that you inject it, and then within 3 or 4 months after you do it, the improvement wears off and you have to repeat that. And so it became a challenge to try and put people to sleep repeatedly with anesthesia to get 4 months of improvement. And so if we could find a more effective way of delivering Botox to the skin, and there's been some trials looking at that possibility, this may be a possibility for something that we could do in the future. Several individuals with PC have mentioned that CBD oil, this cannabidiol, which is as a part of the cannabis plant, improves pain, and not just with PC, but people have used it for sprained ankles or for muscle pain and so forth. And in some individuals, they think that that's been very helpful. We have no organized kind of idea, just individual people say, oh, I put this on and it really seemed to help. It's out there, and it's out there available without prescription, and it seems to be safe, and it does not contain what's called THC, which is the form of marijuana, which is cannabis, but it's the form that has the hallucinogenic part, so it doesn't have that part in the CBD oil. And so it's a thought that some people have tried, and some have reported success, and I should also say that some said it didn't do anything for me. So it's out there, and it looks like something that could be looked at in a more organized way if we can get a company interested in sort of running that type of a trial. There's another one, I think, that probably the most enthusiasm for new types of therapy are using small molecules to block the mutation in the DNA. And what we try and do is we try and block the signal that comes from the DNA to produce that protein. And if we can selectively block something called RNA, which is the messenger that carries it from the DNA to the production in the cells, if we could block that, we could prevent the production of the mutant keratin, and then the normal keratins would take over and reduce the difficulty with PC. So there's something called oligonucleotides. There's something called an siRNA, which is a small inhibitory RNA. These are small molecules that when they get into the cell can actually alter that gene function. And so that in thinking about things long term, this would be an exciting development if we could actually change the message that comes from the DNA that would stop the production of the mutant keratin. Now, there's a lot of problems because sometimes these are very gene specific. You have to make a separate RNA, a separate, for instance, siRNA for each different mutation, or sometimes they're difficult to get them into the cell in sufficient quantities to make that happen. But there's at least some enthusiasm for looking at that possibility, which would really alter the expression of that keratin. Now, there was a question that came from the group about this meeting that asked about animal testing. I would just say that there is no animal testing being done at this time for PC treatments, as there's really no animal model. No animals have PC that we know of, and so we have no animal model to do testing in, so that they can relax and know that animal testing is not done in PC. The next slide, I think, is a summary.
Oh, that's neat. Okay, one other thing that I just wanted to make a quick comment on too is, I guess I should clarify on the animal testing is, we don't know. One thing is, you know, we talk about this meeting that is planned for May for our research symposium to get together. It's really fun to look at all the titles of their research. So we haven't touched on any of those things that they are working on. There's researchers that are doing different things in different labs around the world. And in fact, I've been so excited to hear everybody's talks in May. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we're already exploring a web meeting. We'll talk with our steering committee about that. So thank you so much, Dave, because I think you've really touched on what I think a lot of us want to know, because at the end of the day, I think PCers want a treatment that works. And we hope we've got one that we're doing right now with the Valo study, but we want to keep going till we finally have a perfect cure. So just finally, go ahead.
It's an exciting time to be involved in research. We've watched this over 15 years now, and we had nothing for the first 10 years to speak of. And all of a sudden, there's more and more ideas as research gets better and better in terms of genetic disorders. And so it's an exciting time to be involved in research, and there's a lot of hope, at least in the PC community, that we're actually going to find something that really makes a difference.
Right. I really agree. And I have to make the comment too, sometimes I can tell you, I'm like, what in the world am I doing here? But I can say with all my heart, there is no way I would be here if I didn't truly, genuinely believe that we have a shot at some really great possibilities for PC. And because my animation isn't working, which is no problem, I just wanted to just share this a little bit in conclusion to our web meeting. Is my brother, the one in the white, used to carry me home from school every day from the bus stop. We would get off the bus and I was done. My feet, my allowance of steps were done for the day, just like we talked about earlier in this thing and this thing. That was really good. Anyway, but he would carry me home. And, you know, I think we talk about how so many of us get embarrassed and we're afraid that we have to be carried, and we're embarrassed to tell about our PC, and there's so much shame that's been involved in our community. And it's a beautiful thing that we get to this point where we are okay carrying each other. And that's what this community does. And everybody has an important role. And I've noticed as people have hopped on this call, we've got quite the variety of people. We've got patients, family members, we've got, looks like some scientists, some clinicians, and everybody has a role, and we're so grateful for them. Some of you have asked in your signing up what you can do to help. The list could go really long, but I made a really short one, and they kind of say the same thing in some cases, but You can spread awareness about PC. Like our last June advocacy, our June awareness, we talked about coming out of the PC closet. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And people who do share about their PC find that it's received much better than they ever thought. And it's hard because kids have been bullied, and even adults get people say ignorant things, and yet people who really care want to listen and they want to understand. You can tell others about PC and PC Project. You can become a PC advocate or a social media influencer. I'm learning all these keywords. Of course, you can donate or raise funds. We're a nonprofit. We're poor. We only have Holly and Joanne. I'm a volunteer full time. We don't mind anybody that wants to donate to us. I can say that. I'm very embarrassed, but I'm saying it anyway. And of course, we've sent out the PC Skills Survey to our community, and we've loved some of the responses we've gotten. We haven't even had time yet to flesh through them, but if you want to take that survey, we'll be sending it out again. We'd love to see how we can collaborate with you in your skills. Everybody has a role, and I'm not good at a lot of things that Holly's good at, and you know what? It's okay because she's on my team. I don't have to feel bad about it. We work together, and that's how all of us work. We all play a part. We all play a role. And because in the end, I love this quote. It says, life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. And I think a lot of us with PC just try to endure. Sometimes we just have to get through the day. But our goal at PC Project is to first help patients realize that they can have a productive life right now. They can have a meaningful life, but life is not just horrible, even though there's pain every single day. And at the same time, we're not just content to say, well, too bad, so sad, we've got PC and that's it. No, we want to keep trying. We absolutely want to try for effective treatment and eventually a cure. And that's kind of been my theme as we proceed forward with the goals of PC Project. I just wanted to say, in full disclosure, I started this, you know, being involved with PC Project, well, we just plain started it, is because of my own 2 children with PC. But some of you have heard me say this. I have many PC children now all around the world, and a lot of you at different ages. And you're all my children. Does that sound a little weird? But I care about you, and Holly cares about you, and Dr. Hansen cares about you, and the scientists and researchers and the board members and even each other. We all care for one another. We're all in this together. And so I just wanted to say thanks for everybody who are on this call. Your hearts and souls make all the difference for our hearts and souls. Don't forget, we're all about love. We will send you, if it's okay, a little email tomorrow and ask for some feedback about this meeting. Again, it was our very first one. We don't know if it was considered a disaster or if it was okay. And we also want to know if we should do it again and like focus on, say, infections or treatments or pain, or, you know, so we hope you'll give us feedback. It's just very weird to be talking to a screen. So I hope you guys are all wonderful. And I know, again, I just like to acknowledge that this is an interesting time for literally about every one of our patients. We serve patients in over 50 countries. And so just acknowledge that this is a little bit of a tough time for everybody. And like I said, we had an earthquake with lots of aftershocks here. It was a little shaky for us, and yet life goes on, and we're going to just do our best. And when we come out of this kind of an interesting time, I just want to assure everybody that PC Project will still be strong. We still love you, and we're still going to be doing every single thing we can to get effective treatments and happy lives. Well, I hope you all have happy lives right now, but effective treatments for all of you. Just thank you so much, and thank you, Dave